Good morning everybody. Excuse my voice. These things happen in the moment you less expect it. Welcome to the lecture series at the Carlos III University of Madrid that we have called ELAI Project, Ethical Lessons of Artificial Intelligence. This is a project sponsored by the Tatiana Foundation in its third call for the financing of teaching and cultural projects of leadership and civic humanism. As you know, I am Gonzalo Génova, professor of the Computer Science and Engineering Department of this university. This activity consists of a series of 6 conferences developed through the academic year 2023 and 2024 in the 4 campuses of the Carlos III University of Madrid. This series is aimed primarily at students and professors of this university, but it is open to anyone else who wishes to participate, whether they belong to the academic community of another university or to the general public. Each conference will be performed in person and will also be broadcast live and recorded on the university's YouTube channel. Our intention in this project, in this series of lectures, is not to solve the technical problem of machine ethics, but to learn something about human ethics and their rationality by reflecting on the ethics that can and should be applied in the development of computational machines and artificial intelligence. I have my own ideas about this, but for this series of lectures, I wanted to invite experts from the Spanish and foreign academic world, from whom I hope to learn a lot, first of all, myself. I am pleased to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Gordana Dodig-Crnković, who is a computer scientist at Mälardalen University and professor of interaction design at Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden. She is originally from Croatia, but she has been living and working in Sweden for many years. Her research focuses on the relationships between computation, information, and cognition, including ethical and value aspects. Since you have a summary of his curriculum on the ELAI project page, I stop here and give her the word for his presentation, which she has entitled Navigating the Whitewater World with Digital Humanism. Dr. Gordana Dodig-Crnković.
Thank you very much, Professor Gonzalo. I'm very happy and honored to have opportunity to meet you here and to discuss those very important ideas with you. So, as Professor Gonzalo said, you have already the introduction to my talk. The title is Navigating the Whitewater World with Digital Humanism. So I will explain later on what the whitewater world is and also what is digital humanism. It is about emergent intelligent technologies between utopia and dystopia. You certainly noticed already 1 year ago when ChatGPT appeared how many different positions and opinions about this new technology, fascinating new technology, appeared. So some people believe it's the most fantastic technology you can ever imagine, and the others see only the problems with it, and some see both sides and discuss. So here we will have an opportunity to have a look from different perspectives, from different backgrounds and so on, to try to make your own opinion about what is going on and what are our possibilities in this development. So as Professor Gonzalo said, I have 2 backgrounds. One is at Chalmers and the Gothenburg University. I'm at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, which is shared between those 2 universities. I am at the Division of Computer Science and Software Engineering, and I am part of groups, research groups, interaction design and software engineering, and critical robotics. So my interests currently are very much connected to design and how do we design those emergent technologies, and what is our expectation, both from engineers making this design, but also from users and other stakeholders. I will talk a lot about stakeholders, and you know, stakeholders are people who are either influencing technology or are being influenced. Some people are both influencing and being influenced. And my other research connection is Mälardalen University, School of Innovation, Design and Engineering, Division of Computer Science and Software Engineering, where I am mostly in the role of computer science and its connection to philosophy, with research groups of artificial intelligence and intelligent systems and ubiquitous computing all over the place, which is happening right now, especially with those generative models. So my background, just to explain to you, to understand how am I thinking and how am I building my understanding of what is going on, is I started as a physicist, so in natural sciences, and spent 10 years as a research fellow at the institute in Zagreb, Ruđer Bošković Institute, which has other, both physics and other natural sciences there. So after that period in my career, my family moved to Sweden and I changed the field. So in this gap between two pictures, you can see is a 10 years period when I worked for industry. So it was a completely new world to discover. I was working in criticality safety for ABB Atom in Västerås in Sweden. So I wrote a book, criticality safety book, which is still in use, and I'm very proud of it. It's a world of practical application of science, and also it was the first time when I met ethical and societal aspects of technology. Because, as you know, there is still a big debate in society about nuclear technology, how useful it is, how dangerous it is, and all those things. I have understood that what we are doing in industry makes a big difference for other people as well. So that was the first time I started to think in terms of ethics of technology. And then after 10 years in industry, I moved back to academia because I was longing back to research and to teaching. And so as I was a physicist and I could only program in Fortran, and I moved to the institution which was computer science, and they were far beyond Fortran. I couldn't teach programming, but I started by teaching research methods and theory of science and such scientific subjects for students of technology. And then I learned a lot about the differences between the world of science in technology and the world of natural sciences. Those are also two different worlds. And after some years, I started to study, actually, computing from the beginning. The same year when my son started at the KTH Institute in Stockholm. And I can say I was the first one to finish my studies. So I continued and made my PhD in computing as well. But that time, we had a connection to Uppsala University, and one of my supervisors was a philosopher from Uppsala. And you know, I started to think about my subject from philosophical and ethical point of view. Computing, it was clear already at that time in 2000 and 2000 up to 2005, it was clear that computing is becoming the most important technology today. It is coming to permeate all the civilization. It was everywhere, from medicine to schools to kindergartens to anywhere. So it was important what we are doing, what we are developing, what we are planning for the future. It was really very important for the whole of civilization, for our global human civilization. What are we going to do with this? So I combined in my thesis in computing both research in basis of computing, how you start with data, information, and so on, and come up to cognition, our human understanding, and intelligence. And my thesis was combination between this investigation in information semantics and ethics of computing. How does it make sense in terms of values, in terms of priorities for us? That was my second academic career. And then my family moved again, and we moved to Gothenburg and Chalmers and the Gothenburg University. And I ended in a group for cognitive science. As I previously was studying this process from information to cognition and intelligence, for me it was a very nice opportunity to learn more about cognitive science from the broader context, not only how to model it computationally, but also how to understand traditions, connections to philosophy, and all those things. And so today, currently, I'm researching in morphological computing, which is physical form of computing. If you want to understand how information is starting from data to structures, informational structures, and further on comes to cognition and intelligence, it's very important to understand this physical basis, and that's in morphology. That's the form that is changing from level to level of organization until it comes to our brains and forms some ideas and so on. So morphological computing connected to cognition, like embodied cognition, and AI ethics, digital ethics, and digital humanism. That's what is my present focus. So as I told you, those emergent technologies are really transformative, and there is ongoing process of co-evolution between humans and technologies. So it's not only so that we change technologies, technologies are changing us. I don't know, you certainly noticed that every person goes around with a mobile phone, and even when they are sitting on around the table in a cafe or in a restaurant, many of people are watching their mobile phones and so on. So exactly, we are having them all the time. That's something that didn't exist before. So you wouldn't think about some other people while you are sitting together with some of your relatives and children and so on. So it means it makes a difference. Also, very small children today are given iPads and such devices, and they watch cartoons or whatever. They are completely, what to say? They are enchanted by this abstract world of iPads, which means they have less possibility to move outside, to to connect to other children directly and not via those things. So there is a very profound change in everyday life that is happening with those technologies. And it is very important that we think of it and try to understand how could we do it better? What does it mean for us? So we also notice that the pace of technological advancement is accelerating. You are almost expecting a new version or even new technology every year. So now you get first this ChatGPT and then improvements of GPTs and now those videos, Sora and God knows what. Everything comes like an enormous improvement of the previous things. And it is getting more and more able to understand and communicate with humans. Now, many things are changing based on this fact that intelligent technologies is coming in and plays together with us. So it's not an isolated domain. It is in complete communication with human society. And as I mentioned, stakeholders are many different kinds of people, many different groups. And it is important that all of them have their say, that they can affect what is happening when we develop technology. So you notice that I'm focusing very much on AI technology as this emergent, dramatically new type of technology. And as a first response to this development, people started to worry. And not whoever, it was people who started the technology itself. And there was a call for stop of AI, they called it giant AI experiments, with an open letter who was signed by Joshua Bengio, Stuart Russell, Gary Marcus, and Elon Musk, and all the big names you can imagine. So those are the people who developed technology, who really certainly invested a lot into this technology. And they get seriously worried. So they called for the stop. What happened? Nothing. Everybody continues because it was so exciting to develop. Both Elon Musk and OpenAI, some Altman and all the others, they just continued, even though they signed those petitions. And then also in Canada, which is a big center for AI, Jeffrey Hinton and Joshua Bengio warned that mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. They compare AI with nuclear war. It's so dangerous. And imagine, they are the people who develop it and who are continuously developing it. So that there is this duality between this big attractive force from this new promising technology and fear of what it could do for us. And very, very promptly, even social sphere reacted to those calls. So within a year, we have United Nations report governing AI for humanity. And I will mention a lot of references which are open source, open access. You can find it on the web, and also my lecture will be, or already is, on my web page. So if you just type my name, you will find my web page, and this presentation will be there, and you can access those links. So this was an important document. Also, US reacted with the blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights. This is not a law, neither of those documents are law, but they anyway gives some information about what are desired, what are projected futures for good use of AI. And here, finally, in Europe, Europe was the first in the world to come with the AI legislation. And it has been prepared in several years and published recently. AI Act, European Commission Shaping Europe's Digital Future. And you can see what the approach is. There are levels of risks. First is the low or minimal risk, which is one category of those technologies. But then there is limited and transparently a risk, which is more severe. And then even more severe is high risk that must be regulated. But there are also technologies which are classified like prohibited. which means when they are identified, they will be stopped. So that's European approach. And I can show you the time scale, how they are planned to roll out. And you can see that in 36 months after entry into force, with specific exceptions, this will be applied to entire EU Act will be applied. So how do we think about responsibility? Who decides? Who are the people who we expect to help in this huge project? Because making a law, writing down the law, that's the first step. And then there will be experiences from application of the law, which will lead to changes in the law. It's certain new technology will develop and new cases will appear. So technology will have to follow or the legislation will have to follow technology. So we can look and think in different time perspectives. First, we can look at a few years from now, short time perspective, and it is clear that it is we humans who decide. Then, if we think of middle term perspective, when AGI, which means artificial general intelligence, will start appearing. And it will not be just one distinct event. It will develop with more and more capabilities towards general intelligence. So as this intelligence in machine starts to be on the level of humans, then we will delegate completely of our own will to machines jobs that they can do better than we can. So what they can, they are in the networks and they communicate in no time. So if you send your question to GPT, you get the answer of one page in no time. So no human can produce so much so quickly. And we will have use of those things. So that means we will delegate some decisions to them. Already now you have some, for example, landing in airplanes, which is automatic. At some point you will have intelligent landing, or intelligent, you can imagine whatever. So this ability of those intelligent things will make it so easy for us and attractive for us to give them those tasks, which they will do without errors as humans usually have. So the middle term is something like a combination between intelligent systems and us humans. But in the long term, and we should start to think about the long-term perspective, if they start to be not only intelligent as we, but even more intelligent, what will be the system? How will we assure that we survive and thrive and even flourish in a society where we have super intelligence machine and humans coexisting? So that's a question for all of us. First, to imagine what does it mean, and then to move towards those goals with a lot of discussion and then deliberation, democratic processes to include all stakeholders and try to understand what is the best way. Not only to be driven by the profit of today, of this very short-term thinking, but also profit in terms of knowledge and the flourishment of people and well-being and so on. So who are the stakeholders here? We can say from the top levels, politicians, legislators, businesses. In industry, we have requirements engineering, designers, developers, programmers, deployment engineers, testers, maintenance engineers, and then you have all these school systems and all other levels which are within the socio-technological ecology of all those parts. So there is an interesting article that I recommend, which is Global AI Governance, Barriers and Pathways Forward, how, from, among other people, Maria Rosaria Tadeo and Luciano Floridi, a new article, which is written in light of all those laws and the rules and the recommendations that have come recently that affect our understanding where we are today. Okay, so the questions. How can we navigate to evade dystopic scenarios, all the risks that those pioneers of AI see today? In the turbulent currents of today's world, filled with disruptive intelligent technologies, such as AI controlling humans, taking over us, and eventually destroying humans, many of those pictures coming from movies, many of those should be analyzed in depth and understood how much substance there is there. But anyway, those are the fears. Humans using AI to enslave other humans and so on. So how can we envision the broader landscape of a future human-centered digital society? How would human flourishing look like? What does it mean for different people? And how does a desirable future look like for both humans and our planet, steering towards common preferred futures and utopias? So I will tell something about human-centric in the context of environmentalist movement and thinking about animal rights and such things. It will come. So the plan of the talk is, I will first name this navigating possible future. How do we navigate those landscapes which are unknown? So we are trying to address future. And we will use speculative design, and I will tell you how they work within speculative design. I will also mention complexity and systemic thinking. So as we are trying to integrate different stakeholders and different levels of abstraction, different networks, we have to take this systemic view, and we will meet complexity, because it is a system of nodes which is strongly coupled, and it means it is complex. And I will address value-based human-centric design and digital humanism, and show you one short case study which I was participating in, which is about ethics of autonomous cars. And I will wrap up. So people are trying to address those possible futures in different ways. One of the ways is through simulation and computational methods. So maybe you remember during COVID crisis, some institutions offered models of spreading the COVID and ways of solving the problem and so on. That was the first case when we had involvement of those computational models in order to try to understand the future development of society. So I mentioned I will talk about speculative design as a method to address possible futures. So I will tell you what is the definition. Working definition is speculative design combines informed, hypothetical extrapolation of an emerging technology's development with a deep consideration of the cultural landscape into which it might be deployed. So it combines knowledge from technology about what is today, what is possible in the future, and try to combine different stakeholders' views so that we can understand possibilities. There is a very good book. Unfortunately, it is not open access, but some parts of it can be found on the web. And it is speculative everything, design fiction and social dreaming by Anthony Dunn and Fiona Raby. And they show this development from where we are now and towards the future in different cones. So you can imagine those lines are representing cones. And those are the events or scenarios for the future which are probable, plausible, possible, preferable. So we are trying to divide the future in those scenarios and analyze what are the outcomes or consequences of this technology. And I show you the table of content of the book, and I recommend it strongly. It's a very good exercise in thinking about future. Of course, we have many question marks connected with this methodology. One of those is mutual interaction between different technologies. So we have today both AI technology as emergent and very quickly developing, but also biotechnology, which is in extreme development, combination between AI and bio, and synthetic biology. And, you know, it will be a very, very new thing, which is difficult to predict. But as we go, we get more and more information about what is developing right now. So on the shorter term, we can predict, of course, much better than on long term. But it is important to think and important to imagine, consult with other people who know, those from AI to consult with those from biology and the other fields, and try to understand what are our choices and what are the consequences. So this speculative approach, it facilitates exploration of what is a better future with respect to what we have today. That is what we are trying to imagine. And generating a better understanding of the potential implication of a specific, they call it disruptive technology, in various contexts and on multiple scales. So here is how complex it is. You can see that many different fields interfere and communicate with each other. And the learning process is very intense. There is, for example, art with speculative design, with general design, with design thinking, with strategy, with future studies, science fiction. All those things communicate with each other and inform people about possibilities and preferred futures. And this is just an illustration about that each of us, we are nodes in those networks. There are multiple networks we are connected in, and each of us has only a limited perspective and just limited number of experiences. So we are not forced, but we have this privilege to share with other people and to build common understanding and common approach in this new world, which is growing right now. So this is illustration of complexity of the situation in which we are. And another good book, and my recommendation is Design Unbound. If you are interested in how things are designed and what are the challenges of design, it is about designing for emergence in a whitewater world. So it's not whatever design, if I sit down and imagine a chair that will be the most beautiful or most comfortable chair for me. It is about what will happen in the scenario of unpredictable dynamical world. It is called whitewater world. And they have two parts in the book. The authors Ann Pendleton Julian and John Seeley Brown. The book is from MIT Press from 2018. And 2 parts are designing for emergence and ecologies of change. What do they say? What is this whitewater world? It is complex and it is dynamic. And they say we are forcing the past as a solution set. So whatever we know, our knowledge is knowledge of past. And we try to imagine future, we imagine based on this past. But this past is not relevant anymore. So somebody said, it is like building a bridge. It's a very long process, but the river started to flow somewhere else. So you don't need to build anymore. You should understand that the world is changing. The world has changed. So understanding the present moment, which is this whitewater world, is the most crucial part of this whole. So when we talk about AI, not to think about as it looks like today, because already tomorrow it will be different, and especially next year, and imagine in 10 years. So keep in mind that we are living in extremely dynamical world. So if you compare to old Egypt, which was living several thousands of years in the same system, their art has same canons, same rules, everything, the architecture, everything was, you knew as an architect, you knew I will make this thing because there are rules and we will follow the rules and that's it. Today, things are changing so much that you must consult first what do we know about the present moment, but also what are the trends of those emergent technologies which are changing things enormously. So Design Unbound presents a new tool set for having agency in a world today, which we characterize as a whitewater world, one that is rapidly changing, hyper-connected, and radically contingent. And John Seeley Brown says, imagination is a muscle that must be exercised. So we should not believe that everything will be the next year the same way as it is today. Things are changing and we should imagine, we should be able to imagine those futures. And as I mentioned, hyperconnectivity causes transitions from equilibrium to constant non-equilibrium. For example, in physics, one is always analyzing a system in equilibrium. What is happening in society? Equilibrium means the equilibrium between all the parts, and you isolate your system from the environment in order to get this equilibrium. But what is the most important thing for today's society is constant interaction, all the time interaction within and outside of systems. So you cannot assume equilibrium. It's this very dynamic whitewater world. So, and we need complexity science, and we need dynamics, and we need systemic approaches. There are many new approaches that we must acknowledge and embrace and use. So one of the important things is to have values, because to orient ourselves in this world, we must know what is most important, how to make priorities, how to act based on values. So in Europe, we had a lot of discussions about European values and how they enter all those discussions about future AI and so on. Values are important because of guiding the actions. And there are already a number of good sources on this topic. For example, Sarah Spiekerman's Ethical IT Innovation and Ethically Aligned Design by IEEE. Both can be found on the web. And also number of books addressing those questions. For example, Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark. Max Tegmark was the one who started this letter for stop AI experiments. This is his book about the new life. And then we have The Fourth Revolution by Luciano Floridi, then The Emergent Information by Wolfgang Hofkirchner, and many others. One important initiative that started from this ground when it was more and more clear that we must do something, and to be able to act effectively, we should have a movement on many levels of many actors together. So, and that was the Digital Humanism initiative. It started from Vienna University of Technology, but it includes not only technologists, but also humanists and people from variety of professions, from politics to philosophy, to you name it. So the main point is to include stakeholders. And this green text is their own definition. The Digital Humanism Initiative is international collaboration seeking to build a community of scholars, policymakers, industry players who are focused on ensuring that technology development remains centered on human interest. And then we will say a few words, what does it mean, centered on human interest? Okay, I can say it right now. Mark Kochelberg, a very well-known ethicist, was discussing this topic newly in his paper, What is Digital Humanism? And he named many virtues of digital humanism, and he named some of the problems with it. And one problem, as he sees, is that digital humanism focuses on humans, what humans value and what we want in the future. And that it is important to take into account both animal rights and environmental rights, so that not only humans are taken into account, but also those questions. And my reply, and it was also Luciano Floridi at several times who mentioned this danger of only thinking about ourselves on the expense of other species and the planet. But I think that thinking of ourselves just for selfish reasons, we cannot destroy nature, we cannot destroy animals, we cannot destroy environment, we cannot pollute around us, because we will die out. We cannot survive without environment. So it's in human interest. So there is no conflict between humans and animals and humans and nature. It is just that we must acknowledge that we take care of nature for our own future, and of course for love for nature, but we don't need even to call this love for nature. It's enough to say, if we are human-centered, we cannot destroy animals or plants or the rest of the environment. So that's important to say. Digital humanism is for the whole of planet, not only for us humans. It is a global international issue. The approach is inspired by Enlightenment and the Renaissance, and such a movement which tried to give humans tools and the perspectives of understanding the future in terms of values, commonly shared values. Okay, people are central focus, and technology is for people and not people for technology, because there is already this fear that we will be the slaves of intelligent machines. Humankind is at the center, and building just a democratic society with humans at the center of technological progress is the aim of the project. And you have the links to the web pages of this project. So if you think how this relates to the classical definition of humanism, this is from Oxford Dictionary. So they believe, they say rationalist outlook or system of thought, attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. So when Renaissance was defining this humanism, it was in contrast to divine command and the supernatural side. They were not thinking about humans against nature, but humans in contrast to supernatural. That was the source. Okay, and they were very active in this movement in Vienna. They have a webpage and they have YouTube channel with many extremely good lectures on ethics by people who are stakeholders on high level globally. So I recommend it strongly to have a look. You will certainly find something that interests you. And they published 2 books. This is the first one, Perspectives on Digital Humanism, and both are open access, so you can find and download from the web this Perspective on Digital Humanism. And the other is Introduction to Digital Humanism, which is a textbook, also very good. There is a book on digital humanism by Julia Nida Rümelin and Natalie Weidenfeld, and those are slightly different focus, but also the same topic. And digital humanism from Vienna, the movement has also a manifesto. They say, today we experience the co-evolution of technology and humankind. The flood of data, algorithms, and computational power is disrupting the very fabric of society by changing human interactions, societal institutions, economies, and political structures, and so on and so forth. So they are calling for common action in this direction of digital humanism. And they call for people of different specialities or different experiences, different backgrounds, such as people with passion or motivation to take action, which are voice of intent. Where do we intend to move? People with authority and mandate to drive the change. So it is not enough that we know what should be done. We also have to have with us people who can do that or help this happening. Then they mention voice of design, people who will be designing those technologies, voices of capability, like people with resources to contribute, like money and labor, people with specialist knowledge, skills and tools, people who have access or first-hand experience, like workers and so on. So voice of experience, people with lived experience of the issues, and so on. So they are trying to mobilize people of all kinds of backgrounds in this movement. And also on the UNESCO level, they have got a chair on digital humanism. It is Peter Knies and his chair, and Julia Niederhardt is co-chair, both from Vienna University of Technology. It was an inauguration of this chair last year in March. So UNESCO, and this is the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, has published a recommendation of the ethics of artificial intelligence specifically. And it has 4 parts, also available on the web. The first part is of human rights and human dignity, and then living in peaceful, just, and interconnected societies. Then the third part is ensuring diversity and inclusiveness, and environment and ecosystem flourishing. So they specifically address environment and ecosystem. Just to answer this criticism that human-centric might mean on the expense of nature and environment. Okay, now I will, how am I doing with time? Now I will just tell you about the case study that I've been
10 minutes, maybe.
Okay, great. And that was in autonomous cars ethics. As you know, autonomous cars are based on AI technology. And when we started to study, I was supervising Tobias Holstein. He's my PhD student, and he has he has started his project reading the literature, and maybe 80% of literature was trolley problem. How many of you have heard of trolley problem? Some are nodding, so it was really very popular some years ago. Everybody was thinking about trolley problem. And we were thinking from the perspective of engineers and designers. And you think, how does this car work from inside? Does it make such a decision? Shall we do it like this? Shall we develop it like this, that car is thinking about whom to kill? No, no, no. What we are as engineers doing, we are trying to construct cars that will never kill anyone. So that's our job. How to provide maximum safety and maximum other qualities, values in this technology, which will automatically solve this problem they are asking. So I was thinking the ethics of this trolley problem is really problematic. Losing as much resources to ask a question, shall we kill an old lady or a little kid? It's really horrible. We shall not kill anyone. So how to be sure not to kill? One question is safety. So when you discuss which are our values and which are our requirements, one thing is safety, another is security. Non-maleficence is the minimum, so not to harm, but if possible, do some good for society and people. Responsibility and accountability, that's a big question in AI. Who is responsible? As those machines are getting more and more autonomous and make decisions which are more and more advanced and affect people in profound ways, who is responsible? After some time, this autonomous machine has learned from the environment things that designers have no idea about. That's similar, I think Professor Gonzalo mentioned to me yesterday. They are like children. We put them in the world and they learn their own things. We have no control over them. But there is a difference. The children are humans and those machines are basically different from us. We cannot conclude or learn about them by analogy. I cannot say, I feel like this means this robot feels like this, or I think like that and the robot thinks like that. They were analyzing robots playing or machines playing playing Go, and they concluded that they have no idea how this machine is thinking strategically. They just see they are winning, but how did they understand what to do? We don't know. And it will happen more and more. They are thinking differently, thinking whatever they are doing. They are making decisions, they are reasoning. So responsibility and accountability will be an important issue. I just sent in a paper proposing that with the increase of intelligence in systems, we must do something about those machines and build in some kind of checks for them not to get totally wrong, because you know they can do anything that they learn from anybody in the world. So that's a debate. That's something that is coming that we should learn and try to solve. Also to involve stakeholders and their interests, that's very important. To have a social trust. Without social trust, nothing is possible. So to conclude this self-driving cars example, we had a number of those values and things that must be fulfilled for the car when designed and developed. And we said that was our slogan. It's not about whom to kill, but how not to kill. And I can recommend some good literature, and one of those things is Van Karstenstahl's articles and book, AI for a Better Future, also open access. And he shows organizational ethical issues of AI in a very systematic and good way, and also presents stakeholders from organizations, individuals, and policymakers. You can look at the details. This is from the book, everything. And also, which are the key challenges of ethical governance of AI. So for him, it is meaning of ethics and human flourishing. And meaning is really the central thing. Broad array of issues, technologies, mitigation options, stakeholders, non-linear, that's this white water world, unpredictable, dynamic, so non-linear, systemic relationships. Uncertainty of technical, social, and ethical developments. We must learn to live with uncertainties and tackle uncertainties. Specification of system boundaries, embedding in external environments. That's systems are open and communicating with environment, technical policy, economic, legal, ethical, and so on. And one factor is time in many different shapes. This one is time of product development life cycle that we have to take into account from the conceptualization, design, prototyping, construction, development, testing, production, to the deployment, application, maintenance, support, oversight, regulation. All of those components come into the whole thing, and how to synchronize and organize all of those. So this is from our article, Challenges of Emergent Technologies, like legislation, global framework, guidelines, and implementation, and work on the shared vision of emergent technology. That's what this movement of digital humanism works on. Anticipation and consideration of uncertainties, system-level approach, multi-criteria decision-making, so taking into account many different stakeholders' points, but also different technologies, possibilities for development, and so on. And learning from experience, that's also very crucial for the whole socio-technological system, that it is a learning system, learns all the time from experience and revises its expectations, its recommendations, and so on. And then, as Professor Gonzalo asked me to talk about ethical lessons and artificial intelligence, I asked GPT-4, showed my lecture and said, am I okay with this? Am I placing somewhere in this context? And what shall I expect of ethical lessons of artificial intelligence? This is the answer from GPT. Completely reasonable. And when I sent it to Professor Gonzalo, he said, really, that's okay answer. So we can, yeah. So to wrap up, just quickly, what have we been talking about? Navigating possible futures, speculative design, a white water world and emergence of ecologies of change, value-based human-centric design, digital humanism, and I presented this short case study, ethics of autonomous cars. So in sum, there is a lot of work for you for the future, a lot of things to do. And I remember this old wisdom: with great power comes great responsibility. So we will get more and more power, and of course, more and more responsibility. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Gordana. I think your background in physics is always relevant. I didn't know. I learned yesterday that you had a background in physics, especially from the beginning of your talk, about Your way of talking about the complexity of the world reveals that you have a strong background in physics. Do you agree?
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned my background. All of us have different histories in life, and with our baggage, we bring our insights and new knowledge and so on. So that's why it is very important that we have many different stakeholders. Somebody will look at, I cannot help, I must look at mechanisms, how things work. That's what I've got from physics. But not everybody should look at that. People are looking, there are many different levels of organization that we can approach problems from. So other people bring other qualities.
So in principle, I prefer not to pose any questions myself. Do we have a microphone for the audience? Yeah. Questions?
It could be comments also.
Criticism?
Criticism, so absolutely.
So at the beginning you mentioned that stakeholders are not only people that affect technologies, but also people that are affected by technologies. To what extent do you think that the entire society is affected by AI? So my question is, do you think that everybody is a stakeholder to some extent?
Exactly. Yes. And then there is a question, in what way can we represent, because not everybody can meet in the same meeting, but people are represented by some persons in different contexts. So that was this high-level ethics group on the European level, and they had people with different competencies, even lay people who are just representative of ordinary citizens. So we can say there is a question in this whole requirement or expectation that stakeholders will have their say. And that is, not everybody has the same knowledge about what is going on. So that's the question of democracy as well. How can we democratically decide and hear all the voices, and anyway give different weights to somebody who is expert and somebody who just came from the street and has opinion? You know, that's an open question. But people are already starting to involve all kinds of stakeholders. It is important. It is for everybody. That's the idea. Open AI as well started as open. It started to close now when they've seen so much money. But we can expect of those technologies to come to everybody.
Thank you. Any other question?
So my question is, as we have to be able to predict new changes in our environment, how would you think is the best way of predicting these changes, and until which point we should invest in some way to predict this one? Yeah.
It's a great question also. Both questions are really good. How to predict future, that's really a problem. So we can consult. What are we doing right now? When the situation is very critical for some decision, we are calling for expertise of people who are expert in some fields. So what can we do to predict the consequences of AI in different situations? What they already do is making panels with a number of different people with different backgrounds. I will sit in a panel in Vienna. I'm teaching a course in Vienna in the beginning of May on AI ethics, and I will be in a panel with people with a philosophical background, sociological background, ABM, like people who know technology in detail. So they try to engage as many as possible different people and hear how they reason, what they know, what can they share with us. So the result is, this is like, now I think about computer scientists, distributed computing. You have nodes which have knowledge, and they are sharing their knowledge. And that's this solution where we have to share with the stakeholders and try our best knowledge of what is today and what can be imagined as a future. As they say in the Whitewater book, we shall exercise our imagination muscles, trying to really be able not to see only, you know, I was teaching in courses in design, and one of the project courses was to imagine some future technology. And you get from students technology which you can buy already. So that's not the problem. We understand what is existent, but try to understand. So that was this dialogue, how to imagine those futures. It's not easy, but that's what we must do. So I hope you will bring with you new thoughts and new imaginations of the future. Thank you.
More questions? Can you please go back to your slide where you present the digital humanism? Yeah. I don't know if you might know that the motto of this university is that famous phrase by Seneca, Homo homini sacra res. Man is a sacred thing for man, obviously man or woman. El hombre es una cosa sagrada para el hombre. So there's a lot of debate about humanism as whether it can really be the basis to build an ethical world. And I explain myself. Maybe I haven't understood you very well, but when you present here those people, the ideas of those people too, who emphasize that people are at the central focus, but apparently the focus is mainly on what we want to do, not what should be done. That there's a contrast between will of doing things and some kind of things that should be done independently of whether we want or not. And that's why also in that slide, when you or they present that the importance of nature for ourselves, we need it well, but humans are still at the center. We are not properly respecting nature. We are using nature in the most convenient way for ourselves. So the question is, if you really, and my own view is that ethics has sense only if there is something that is acknowledged to be above will, above poor will, even the will of many, or even the will of the whole society. And that's why I like a lot the motto of our university, because Homo homini sacra res, the human beings are sacred things for human beings, even if they don't like them, even if they don't want. if you want to have an ethical behavior, first of all, you must acknowledge, not give dignity, but acknowledge dignity of others, and that, in a sense, I think that the word sacred conveys something that is imposed, that is above us. Maybe it is not God. I think you mentioned that the digital humanism is some kind of reaction against ethics that comes from heaven.
Middle Ages, yeah.
Well, I don't think dignity is God, but it is something that comes from above in a certain sense.
You touch such a deep philosophical question. It's a most profound question. And I agree with you totally. But now we are on the level above, as you say. So, for example, Stuart Kaufman, you know, he is natural scientist, but he has moved quite a lot with his interest becoming broader and broader, and he is quite a lot interested in ethics right now. I'm in a discussion group with him. Look his book, Reinventing the Sacred. He says we as civilization has lost this feeling of awe, being totally without words in front of nature, universe, everything. We learned with Renaissance and then the Enlightenment that we are the masters, we are the center, that's about us. And so that's our civilization. What digital humanism is doing, moving from where we stand. We stand in this context, but there is really a need of understanding something that is even above human, values that are even above us. And that is very, very profound question and very dangerous one, because some people would claim, I know what is this above, and yeah, I will show you, and I will tell you, and I will suppress you based on this. So it's a very, very profound, it's very, very important, and something that we have to address in the future. But I'm trying to understand the position of digital humanism as a movement that started from here today. Mm-hmm. And they are open for philosophical and other thoughts.
But
definitely.
Maybe what is needed is a little step backwards to recover values that are above us, to acknowledge that there is a truth of because I think the danger is not in acknowledging there is a truth. The danger, as you mentioned, is I have the truth. That's the dangerous person. Not the person that affirms there is a truth, but the person that affirms I have the truth and I am going to teach it to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really a step towards the future, understanding how to tackle these values which are above all of us.
Yeah. More questions?
I wanted to ask, I saw that on your presentation, you mentioned how in Europe we're already trying to regulate AI. I wonder how you think this might look in other parts of the world where they are more hesitant about regulation, for example, like North America, or places where they're not so used to regulate everything.
Good question. In this group, Digital Humanist group in Vienna, they used to invite people from the US. They have very prominent, for example, Edward Lee. Edward Lee is one of the co-authors of those books that they published, and he is almost always present in the meetings and so on. So, and several other people from Stanford and other places. So there is interest in being an example, a good example for the world. And I mentioned also that in the US they have this bill which is new recommendation, and so the ideas are spreading, and somebody should lead, and somebody should try to do those things. So I see, one would say, okay, why are you regulating when the technology is not yet developed? It is right in the beginning. But technology is so powerful that we must do something, and we learn as we go. So that's the idea. Also in China, they followed, GDPR was the first example, privacy protection law in Europe. Europe was also the first in the world to make this law about privacy, protecting us on the web and so on. So the first reaction over the world was, oh, it will stop initiative, it will just paralyze everything. Of course, nothing happened like this, and many others followed afterwards. So in China, they introduced also those privacy things, even though they have different traditions and everything. In other places in the world, especially US is very much in those thoughts and in that direction. But you should take into account that all this big industry, all those big players are in the US, and they have a big say. But they were in Senate, they were talking with politicians, they were discussing, and they really tried to make us believe that they want the best for the humanity, that their interests are identical with the interest of the state or the society. So they are in a dialogue, and something is happening. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Although this is probably like a discussion topic, I would like to know your personal opinion on the AI being biased, because I know that normally we would picture AI, the perfect one, to be unbiased, but probably in some cases it is really helpful for it to be biased. So I would like to know, what do you think on this topic, and if you think that a little bit of bias is helpful sometimes in these cases.
Great question. I will go back to this list of topics that are ethical lessons from artificial intelligence, and I think that was maybe one of the most valuable lessons we learned from AI, that we are biased. We ourselves as humans are biased. It has been apparent when they collected all the data from judges from I don't know which context. For example, when you offer employment to a person, it is not written anywhere that they prefer a male. It's quite neutral. But the machine has been learning from thousands of examples of such cases where people have been offered employment and somebody has got a job, and that was maybe 80% male. So the machine gave the priority to males, and we discovered that without knowing that was the case in our processes, in human processes. So machines helped us to clearly see how biased we are. And we discovered biases in choosing the students in universities, promotion in the university degrees, all kinds of things. So now we know for sure from the big data that there is a bias. What was the reaction? To try to encourage female students to go in those areas where they are in minority, like computer science, computing or informatics in Europe in general. So I'm in a network which is called the Informatics Europe, and they have several projects. One is called EUGEN, or Eugene, is a network of females helping females to go forward in this totally male-dominated field. So in those software engineering and computing and so on, there is a tradition of male dominance. What was the history? We cannot go, but so far, but that's the empirical fact. And we are trying to get this balance. It means we need more students from the beginning, from the first year and up to professor level. So that means a lot of work already in kindergarten to make small girls interested in machines, because it will give us both inclusion and diversity. And diversity brings new ways of thinking also in AI. When you have more females who are trained to think about children and the family and everyday life, it's just history. It's not necessary that it is always only females who take care of children all the time, but it is history, and we can learn from females who have this experience, who have learned those things from their lived experience, to integrate in the thinking about the future of technology, both why it was so and will we have it so. The majority of people think that we should have equity, equality, inclusion, diversity, that this quality in itself. So that's the answer to bias. Bias is not per se in the machine, it's in the data, and data are our data.
If I am allowed to be provocative, I would say that we discover bias, but why is bias so important? Why is bias something we should avoid? I mean, bias is in the facts. There is actually bias. So which are the sciences we have to study facts or regularities? Physics, chemistry, biology. They describe the world as it is, but they do not give us any reason to change things. So there's bias. Okay, we model it, we even predict future behavior of the system, but is there a reason to change things, to change the perception of young kids when they are in kindergarten and so on? I think this is very important, because that means, that implies that if ethics can be as intellectually achieved, it cannot be with the means and with the methods of physics. It requires a new and different way of thinking. I'm explaining.
Ethics, like. Yeah. Yes, I agree totally. In natural sciences, but also in cognition, you know. I was thinking right about this bias being a bad word. Cognitively, we have always biases. Bias is the basis of our previous experience. So I have bias about my house. When I come to my house, in my brain, I have already a picture of where the things are. I don't need to look at them. I can close my eyes and find things. So that's the bias, cognitive bias. We have bias about things that we need, and this bias is useful because I don't need to look every time, and I can, for example, when I drive a car, I have a bias in many things that I know I learned. That's the consequence of learning. But to assume that what is now is what will be the next moment or in the future, that's the problem. That's what I told you. We are living right now in a changing world, in a really radically dynamic world. So we cannot assume, we cannot trust our biases. If somebody believes the place of a lady is in the house, that's the bias, because that was the place for many years. But now we started to add values to those claims and think, is it really necessary? Do we want it like that? Things were changing, you know. Before, you needed a lot of physical power for work, and male were naturally attracted to those places where they could work with their physical power. Females were with children. There was a history. But today it's completely different. You have to acknowledge the development of society and change your biases. So in such a situation where you cannot count on bias as something useful, then it's better to acknowledge it and to change it. That's the logic.
We have time for more questions, if you like.
I'm happy with critical questions as well, and provocative, if you wish.
Lizzie, you don't have any question? No? Anna? No? Okay, could you please go to the first slide, the very first slide? I asked Gordana to put this slide, which is the same kind of slide for each of the conferences in the series. If you note, over there in the upper right side, there's the motto of the university, Homo homini sacra res. You will find it in the university seal. In some places in the university, it was more often found before. In the round one, the round seal of the university, Homo homini sacra res. Please go around the campus and mark the places where it is. In the stairs sometimes, or in the doors or windows. I think really it has a link to our history, which is very, very important. Our history, our university, which is very important. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gordana. It's been a pleasure. And with this, this series of lectures concludes today. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks.